Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared creates collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. So my next interview is with Coky Giedroyc. We had a blast, at least I did. I hope she did too, talking about her new film, How to Build a Girl, starring Beanie Feldstein. And, you know, this film was at the Toronto International Film Festival and got great reviews. And I would call it a real crowd pleaser on a whole lot of levels. And Coky and I, we were able to, I think, go pretty deep on this. I mean, this is a bit of a road movie, it seems to me. This is about a young woman finding herself in a variety of different ways. How's this? I'm reading right from the press kit. As this young woman, Dolly Wilde, gains notoriety, starts to question if this was the right girl to build. And so this is kind of, I mean, maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but this is kind of what the film is really all about. This is about a young woman who's building herself into something else and something other, and then, you know, kind of finds herself in the process. Coky, I hope that's okay for an intro, but we talked about this being a film about friendship and loyalty and passion, and about that commitment and that commitment to family, actually. It really is a beautiful, fun, thoughtful, touching film. It's a great cast, wonderful little cameos throughout. It's a prophetic tale, really, for parents and kids alike, if you ask me. And Coky and I talk about how this really was a labor of love for her. And it's full of fun stuff, lots of humor, but lots of things too to take you a little deeper. As Coky might say, this is a journey that you're going to go on, and as you sort of discover yourself and you discover sort of what's next. So stay tuned and stay tuned for what we end up talking about. This thing called life, this real messy, wonderful thing called life in Coky Giedroyc's film, How to Build a Girl, coming right up. Don't forget davidpecklive.com for more information about my writing and my speaking. You can purchase a copy of Real Change is Incremental there if you are so inclined. And don't forget facetofacelive.ca for a whole host of other interviews coming up on 500 interviews this or early next year. We've got lots coming up from TIFF, some really exciting stuff. Already have a few of those published. If you want to advertise with Face to Face, you can certainly do that. Reach out to us through our email address on the website. You can get into the newsletter. Sign up for that, by the way. You can get into the newsletters, which go out monthly to a pretty big database. We've got social media. We've got good following there. You can advertise on the podcast itself, shout outs and banner ads and so on the website. So please do reach out. And if you can't do that, or you don't want to do that, or you don't have, it's not on your to-do list, and you might be able to support us, so you can do that through patreon.com and maybe donate to us on a monthly basis to help support the work we're doing. And if you can't do that, maybe the third thing and the last thing you might be able to do and tick off your to-do list is leave us a review on iTunes. We really would appreciate that. It really does make a difference and helps us to get word on the street about what we're doing. A little bit of digital social media goes a long way. And don't forget, too, rabble.ca is another platform where Face to Face is hosted alongside of a whole lot of other podcasts and writers and bloggers doing some really interesting and wonderful things as they dig deeper into this crazy, beautiful world we live in. Rabble.ca, news for the rest of us. And coming right up, a real fun interview, a real treat for me with Coky Giedroyc, and talking about her new film, How to Build a Girl. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We're joined by a very special guest with us here today. I guess as my father would say, and now this is going to tip my age, but from across the pond, we've got Coky Giedroyc here with us today to talk about her new film, How to Build a Girl. Coky, thanks for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really pleased to be here.
And it sounds, and so you are in London. Is this true?
I'm in London, yes, and it's very dark here.
It's very
I'm
dark.
sitting in my office in the garden.
You're sitting in your well-lit
Yeah.
office.
Office in the garden with my dog.
Oh, very nice. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a community going on here. This is good. Well, listen, we're here to talk about your new film, How to Build a Girl, world premiere, I believe, at the Toronto International Film Festival. And right out of the gate, before we even step into to talking about the film and the cast and some of the fun things that you guys get into and interesting issues, I just want to say congratulations and loved the film. I mean, what a thoughtful and charming and fun, touching piece. So thanks for How to Build a Girl.
Thank you so much. I'm really, really glad you liked it. It was a kind of labor of love, and I threw my whole self into it and worked on it for a long time. So I'm so relieved that people are kind of liking it, you know.
And
you
Coky,
you send it out. You send a
right.
film out, and it's a bit like a kid, you know, and you just hope they're going to cope okay at school and make friends, and it feels a bit like that, really.
It's interesting you say that. It's interesting that you say you throw it out. I was interviewing a Canadian documentarian recently, Alan Zweig, and he said, when I asked him kind of, can you kind of unpack what your film is about for us, Alan? And he said, you know what, I actually don't really know what it's about yet. And I think what he was actually saying was, I need to see how people react to it. I need to see what the audience actually has to say and how they respond and when they laugh and when they cry and when they applaud and so on. And I think there's something kind of cool and relational and interesting about that. And does that resonate with you?
It absolutely does. Yeah, it's weird. There's this kind of strange alchemy that happens when you sit in a room with a lot of other people, and this story that I've been working on, the central character I've got so close to, it's slightly sort of bizarre and obsessive after a while. You get so entangled in that character, and you sit in a room and you can just feel the rhythms of it, and you can sense and anticipate the sort of the tilts and the dips, and the kind of silences are really precious, and the laughs, oh my God, you just wait for the laughs. And my sister's a performer, and she talks to me about how she is on stage with a live audience, and it sort of feels like that, really. It feels like you're just living it with them in that moment. It's terrifying.
And it's terrifying. Well, I think it's interesting
as well.
Yeah, terrifying as well. I can imagine, because it's all about. I would think it's all about discovery in the moment. You can write and you can storyboard and you can craft and plan, but then you're working with paradoxical, interesting and unpredictable human beings, right? even though they might be actors, and isn't that kind of what How to Build a Girl is all about?
Yes, she is a deeply paradoxical human being. And she's kind of half-formed when you meet her. That's the thing. So the journey you go on with her, I hope, is a kind of a sort of live journey of unfolding and discovery. She really is. She's really messy. She's really complicated. She has no self-knowledge during lots of the film, and so it's absolutely raw. And I think she's amazing, because even kind of after 9 months in the edit with that character, I was finding surprising, odd things about her, which was sort of revelatory all the time. It's the weirdest thing.
Coky, I understand that the novel that Caitlin Moran wrote is somewhat autobiographical, or semi-autobiographical, I suppose. I would imagine every art piece is somewhat autobiographical. I'm not sure that's all that interesting of an insight. However, I wonder how much of you would you say is in Joanna's character, in Beanie Feldstein's character in the film. Did you sort of smile in the editing room? Were there moments of realization where you went, wow, yeah? I mean, because I felt like I was in some of those scenes, if that makes any sense.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. There's a lot of me in there, my job in a way on this film was to be Catelyn's kind of conduit. It's her story. It's her story and it's her life, albeit fictionalized around the edges, but the core of it is her. But the really interesting dynamic is that Catelyn is very, very funny, loud, articulate, bonkers, provocative. She's an extraordinary sort of provocateur, really.
Right.
And I'm the opposite. I'm quiet and sort of gloomy and sort of the very, very, I don't know, the sort of the darker one. We're like yin and yang. We really are. I'm the goth, and she's the kind of rave queen.
Is that on your business card, Coky?
Came to the film. Sorry?
Is that on your business card, quiet and gloomy?
Yeah, it works well.
Yeah.
But I came to it, and I said, and the script was chock full of jokes and gags, and that was brilliant. And I said, the thing is, Catelyn, you also have this ability to write heartbreaking. And she said, forget the heartbreaking. I want hilarious. And I said, no, we're going to do both. So that was the me bit, really. The me bit in the film was allowing her humour to fly, I hope, but at the same time give it a spin that is, more emotional or more soul-searching, I suppose.
Well, I think, for me, this, I don't know if you studied philosophy at all as a student, but for me, sure, it's a coming-of-age film. It's a road movie. I mean, in a sense, certainly a personal road movie, and you referred to it as a journey. But there's a profoundly and deeply existential sort of angle to this film. That here's this young woman who's not just finding her life, but really making some really stark and profound, having these stark and profound realizations along the way. And the absurdity of it all. I mean, the scene with the hot tub and the bikini made out of a bag, and just her presence and her maturity there, and yet to contrast that with some of the toilet room humor is just, it's not only marvelous, but I think it's quite profound in its, I don't know, am I making it sound too academic? I hope not, because it's such a delightful, fun film as well. But I do think any great sort of narrative piece, touches on some pretty common, issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess my biggest hope for this is that it reaches far and wide and feels universal. And so I completely agree with you. I think that you can, in a movie, you can use all of those kind of tools, and all of those things are at your disposal. Those storytelling tools are at your disposal. And I felt like we had a film that could stand on a trapeze between sort of train wreck kind of humour and also, very sort of strange, interesting, sometimes dark, sometimes provocative areas of sort of, psychological, the psyche, really. And I just think a film can do it. And sometimes it takes a lot of persuading of people around you. There were a lot of people that it tipped either in one direction too much or the other, and I just said, we can do both, guys. We literally can do both, because she's a complicated character, and she's going to go to all those places, and Catelyn wrote all those things. She did go to all those. This is her life, absolutely.
It's not just, and you must have really seen this as a filmmaker, to take that sort of as you say, the brilliance of the jokes and that comical approach, and Catelyn saying, I don't want the heartbreaking or the heartwarming, and you said no, we can do both, because there's so many of those moments. I mean, there are incredibly warm, touching, very human moments. I mean, how do you take a young woman, self-harming, potentially having suicidal thoughts, and turn it into this fabulous joke about you too? I mean, it's just, it's absurd.
That's pure Catelyn, though. Seriously, she's a genius at that stuff, honestly. And I guess I gave her the platform,
right,
to sort of land the gag, if you like. Yeah, it
well,
was the
yeah,
two of us.
and I think
It
though,
was a joint effort.
well, and isn't that the beautiful part of filmmaking, and that collaborative angle to it, where you took that great, brilliant, genius writing, you get this brilliant performance out of pretty much everyone in the film, frankly, but Beanie was marvelous and it comes together and in such a beautiful moment. So it's absurd and funny, and yet really important and telling in another sense. If that, I'm not sure if that makes any sense or not, but it's certainly how it landed for me.
I'm so glad. Honestly, it's these. This is so helpful to me before Saturday because my film gets its world premiere on Saturday.
Oh, it is Saturday. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's so nice to hear this stuff because I'm very nervous about it, and kind of, sending it out into the world feels quite a big deal, really. You sort of sit with it for so long, and it's so intimate, isn't it, for so long, and then suddenly it's out there.
You must lose so much perspective along the way, just because you're so embedded, and you're so. I would think you would have to be pretty intimately committed to the story in this particular case. I mean, this is not a job you're phoning in. I think you started the interview by saying this is a real labor of love for you. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, it's to me, this is a story that is sort of brand new in a way. I mean, I have not seen this on a screen before, and I so want 15-year-old girls to sit in the audience. I want a lot of other people to sit in the audience, but I particularly want those girls to sit in the audience and see them up on the screen in a way that is kind of celebratory and kind of wonderful, but also real and messy, and show them in all the crazy, wild spectrum of life experience, from good to bad, and say it's going to be okay. It is actually going to be okay. You can dip into all of this shit and all this stuff. Sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Yes, go right ahead.
Cut that out. Sorry if I can't. You can dip into all of these bad experiences, and you'll be okay. You can reinvent yourself. You can re-ravel the unraveling, and you can make something brand new out of yourself. Because I really wish someone had said that to me at 15. This was really what kept me going. This is absolutely Catelyn's manifesto. It's like give a 15-year-old girl a really, really good message. Tell that girl she can have sex with someone really inappropriate and she won't die.
Right.
Or she won't get incredibly ill because of it, which is what you see in most films. It's the strangest thing, honestly.
I love the line, "This is me for now."
I know, so do I.
Isn't that, it's just so beautiful in light of what you're saying, that, it is going to be okay. What's the one of the final lines in the film? You can rip it up and start again, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what, when I mentioned earlier that existential sort of angle about aren't we all kind of doing that? So yes, of course, we want 15-year-old young women to watch this film and to be empowered. And I love, by the way, the opening about my adventure doesn't start with a boy. I just think that's so great.
I know.
It's just so wonderful. It's just
I was sorry to interrupt. I was absolutely going to say that you're absolutely right. That of course that's speaking to the 15-year-old girl, but also to actually anyone who has been 15 and male, female, anybody who's been through that sort of thing where you're doubting yourself and reinventing yourself and kind of facing down your demons and, you know, getting excited by your dreams. I mean, it's absolutely that.
You know, I don't want to. I mean, you so many literary references, and I don't think Dante got a shout out in the film. But is John Kite, is he sort of the Virgil in this? From Dante's Divine Comedy, because I just so felt like he was what a wonderful performance, Alfie Allen. And by the way, incredible cast, and no wonder it took you
they're good, aren't they?
Oh, they're so wonderful. It's just beautiful, fun cameos. Emma Thompson is just absolutely delightful. Chris O'Dowd, everybody is. And there's something for me as a good old colonial to hear. I'm not sure what kind of English accent that is, but it just seems to make everything funnier, if you ask me.
Wolverhampton, yeah, the very obscure accent that is about a sort of 40-mile radius in the Midlands of England. And when we cast Beanie, I basically said, look, Bean, you know, she's Californian, as you know, and I said, Bean, what are you going to do with this accent? And she said, look, you're going to have to cast somebody to deal with that accent, so it might as well be me.
Funny.
And I just thought, good on you.
So,
John Kite, just to answer your question,
mm-hmm.
I don't know. You'd have to ask Catelyn that.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, for her, what she says about John Kite is that he should represent every good-hearted, working-class sort of singer, musician that hung around in grubby bars and drank too much, smoked too much, and misbehaved, but was a pure gentleman. That would be her sort of summing. It's very, very particular, very specific, and casting him was really, really important to me because I didn't want to just cast a sort of teen idol. I didn't want to cast a kind of. Do you know what I mean? The pressure. I think.
Yeah, well, and he doesn't really come across that way. I mean, clearly he's a rock star in the film, and he's a person of note, and he's incredibly successful, et cetera, et cetera. But I think you and Catelyn, I guess, had turned that on its head in a sense in Alfie's performance. It seems to me, just in the way that he approaches it in such a beautiful and I think your word earlier, that heartbreaking or heartwarming kind of a way.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was wonderful from Alfie, and he sort of, I don't know, he wrapped his arms around it and owned that character in a way that was just very calm and very earthed.
Yes.
So that with all the sort of turmoil in the film at times, when she's with him, I mean, I slowed the camera down. I slowed everything down. I slowed the editing down when they were together because I just felt when they were together, things just could calm down a bit.
Well, he's not really very sex, drugs, and rock and roll, is he?
No. I don't know if you noticed, but in the hotel room when he sits on the bed and talks to her, he takes his shoes off.
Right.
And I just love that little just character touch.
Right.
He's not that rock and roll, no.
No, and I just don't imagine too many rock and roll stars saying to somebody like Joanna, I want the honor of being your friend. I mean, what a beautiful, and isn't that something that we all want to hear from our friends or our family? Yeah.
So badly. And again, you know, particularly I showed the film quite a few times to, you know, young teenage girls, and the thing about young teenage girls is that's what they want. They want that. That's the sort of romantic ideal.
So tell me, and believe it or not, Coky, we're probably going to wrap up in a few minutes here, sadly. But I guess you're probably getting on a plane fairly soon, I would imagine, heading into Toronto. No doubt. Do you think this is? I mean, I think we've already kind of chatted about the idea that yes, it's for young women, but there is something incredibly universal about this film, and that can touch a wide sort of demographic, I suppose. But there's a sense for me as a fairly young parent. I have my son Spencer's 14. He probably and they're getting about the age where they're going to get pissed off at me for talking about them on air. And Victoria is going to be 12 soon, and I feel as if this is almost a prophetic tale for parenting or for parents. This is how to raise children. This is how not to raise children, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Have you got your flak jacket on yet, by the way?
Have I got my what?
Time to duck. Time to duck behind the parapet.
Yes,
right.
That's right. Sorry, the digital delay there, I think, got in the way of the me getting the joke. But yeah, no kidding. I was fitted for my flat jacket just recently. Yeah.
Oh, they can be fierce. Wow. I had one of mine was so fierce. He didn't speak to me. He just sucked his teeth at me for about 4 years. So I know what you're talking about. I mean, it's listen, the film. I really hope that people of any age will come and find the bit of it that they relate to. I've talked to women in their 30s, 40s who remember being 15. I've talked to parents of 15-year-olds. I've talked to guys who love the character of Paddy Considine.
He's wonderful, by the way.
Paddy,
yeah,
who's in his kind of 40s and he's an aging rocker. And I've talked to lots and lots of guys who said to me, I know him and I love that character. It's not in any way an exclusively female film. I would hate for that. It has a big, broad appeal, I hope. But I suppose that the sort of beating heart of it is Johanna, which is wonderful because she deserves to be there right at the center. It's her story.
When you went in, and I guess maybe you could tell us a little bit as we wrap up a little bit about the history behind it. Was it you reading the novel, meeting Caitlin, reaching out to her? How did I think you said 9 years, labor of love. That's a huge commitment.
Actually, she'd written the script and it had been in development a while.
Okay.
And and I hadn't come across it, and I was working with the producers on another show on Harlots, and they said, "Oh, well, we've got this script, and we don't quite, know where it's headed." So I came in, and we had this very intense year and a half of work together in the kitchen, actually, of our offices, and we kind of turned the script around together with Bonnie, our co-producer, and then it very quickly got picked up and got funded. So it was wonderful, actually. It's a good experience in development.
And did you know who you wanted for the roles? Did you have a pretty good idea? Was that a decision you made together, or did it sort of fall into place as time went on?
Oh yeah, it fell into place. I had no idea at all. We were just it was like a sort of a blank page at the beginning, and at that point, none of us had seen Lady Bird, and so I met with lots and lots and lots of actors, young actors, and suddenly one day the producer Alison Owen said to me, "Have you seen this film? There's this fantastic new actress that we should meet," and it was Dean. So it fell into place after that, because she was so striking and so funny and so good in the audition. It just attracted everybody around her. It was amazing. It was like a sort of
her performance is so. It's just so engaging. It draws you in from the get-go, and I love how deeply wise and mature she is, and how sort of crazy and off the cuff she is in another. Who would have thought that a film like this, for me, and this is I hope this comes across the right way, but a fun film like this about coming of age story that could remind me that it's here the line it's always sunny above the clouds. How her character could remind me of that. I just think that is a beautiful thing, Coky. I think what you've done here is wonderful. I really wish you well with the film. I think you're right. I think you're onto something here. I think this is something that hasn't been done before, and just what a confluence of events. Great performances, great actors, great writing, funny as hell, and such great music too. It's you guys must have had a blast with that.
Yeah, we needed a banging soundtrack. That was just a given. with Caitlin on board, that was just going to be great.
Oh, that's so.
I mean, I totally agree. I think she just sort of gathers it all around her and is the beating heart of it, and can basically do funny sad in just one look, which is pretty special.
Well, I think, not only will audiences, I think, have a whole lot of fun with the film and really enjoy it, but I think there's something really deeply profound about that notion of funny sad, and there's some really, really great lessons to be learned. A deeply relational film, it seems to me. And isn't that a wonderful thing? Thank you so much for your time today. We've been talking with Coky Giedroyc about her new film, How to Build a Girl. It's world premiere, I think, Coky. Is that right? World premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival.
Yes, on Saturday, yes.
Isn't that wonderful? Well, thank you again, and congratulations. I wish you well with it, and hope we get to meet you face to face.
Yes, me too, David. Thank you so much for having me.